Most preppers spend thousands on gear they will never use. You do not need to. The most valuable items in a collapse are already inside your home. A veteran learns this the hard way. We watched cheap household junk become gold overseas. We watched it vanish from American shelves too. 13 ordinary things save lives when the trucks stop rolling. You own most of them right now. One tube in your junk drawer once closed wounds in Vietnam. One jar in your cupboard outlasts entire civilizations. Stick with me to the end. By then, you will guard these items like ammunition. Start with the tube in your junk drawer. Super glue. You paid maybe $1 for it. In a real crisis, it becomes a field surgeon. The chemical name is cyanoacrylate. Field medics in Vietnam carried a sprayable version of it. They sprayed it straight onto bleeding wounds. It sealed the tissue in seconds. It kept men alive long enough to reach the helicopter. Most people never learn this. You cut your hand deep and reach for a bandage. A bandage slips. It soaks through. The wound splits open with every move you make. A trained hand does something different. You pinch the cut closed with 2 fingers. You run a thin line of glue across the top, not inside the wound, across the sealed edge only. It holds the skin shut like a stitch. The hospital version is called Dermabond. It is the same family of chemistry. Yours costs about $2 at Dollar General. Theirs costs many times more. One tube does 5 other jobs too. You seal a cracked boot sole. You patch a leaking water bladder. You splint a torn fingernail. You bond gear your life depends on. A tube weighs almost nothing. It fits in a shirt pocket. Most preppers pack heavy trauma kits and forget the cheapest wound closer ever made. You keep a tube in every bag you carry. You never leave the house without one on you. That glue trick barely scratches it, so I put everything I know into a guide you can print and keep offline, linked up top. Next is the jug under your sink. Plain, unscented bleach. When the taps run dirty, this becomes your water plant. City water treatment stops fast in a grid-down event. Within days, your tap is a gamble. People get sick from bad water faster than they starve. Most folks buy cases of bottled water and feel safe. That water runs out in a week. Then what? A trained hand treats water instead. The math is simple. 8 drops of 6% bleach per 1 gallon of clear water. 2 drops per quart. Stir it well. Wait 30 minutes. You should smell a faint chlorine bite. No smell means you add 8 more drops and wait again. That is the exact ratio the government prints for emergencies. 1 gallon of bleach treats thousands of gallons of drinking water. A $4 jug from Walmart beats a $200 filter on sheer volume. Here is what most people miss. Bleach dies on the shelf. It loses about 20% of its strength every year. The old jug in your garage is nearly worthless now. You buy it fresh, you rotate it out, you keep it cool and dark. Stored water is a comfort blanket. Bleach is an actual water supply. You want the supply, not the blanket. You mark the date on every jug you buy. You trust the drops, not your memory. You never gamble on old stock. Now the box of contractor bags in your garage, not the flimsy kitchen kind, the thick 3mm black ones. A veteran sees a shelter system in every bag. One bag solves 3 deadly problems. Exposure kills you in hours. Cut a hole in the bottom and 1 on each side. Now you have a rain poncho that traps your body heat. Stuff 2 bags with dry leaves for a sleeping mat off the cold ground. The ground steals more heat than the air does. Most people freeze because they lie right down on it. You will not. Water is the second problem. Line a pack with a bag and you haul 6 gallons from a creek. Shelter is the third. Split several bags open for a waterproof tarp roof in minutes. They block wind. They catch rain. They keep your firewood dry. A box of 20 heavy bags runs about $18 at Home Depot. Compare that to a $100 emergency bivvy that does 1 job. This bag does 10 jobs. Soldiers call this field expedient. You make 1 cheap item cover many needs at once. When stores empty, these strip from the shelves fast. Everyone suddenly needs them. You stock them now while they cost pennies. You keep a full box in your car and 1 in your closet. You never let a storm catch you short. Here's one that stops people cold. Feminine pads. The maxi pads on the shelf at Dollar Tree. They are one of the finest wound dressings money can buy. This is not a gimmick. The very first disposable pad came from a battlefield bandage. Nurses in World War I packed wounded soldiers with a wood pulp material called cellucotton. It soaked up blood better than cotton gauze. After the war, that same material became the sanitary pad. You are looking at a repackaged combat dressing. Think about what a pad is built to do. It absorbs heavy fluid fast. It holds a sterile face against skin. It has an adhesive strip and wings to lock it down. A deep gash pours blood. A thin bandage soaks through in seconds. You press a pad hard onto the wound. It absorbs the flow while you hold firm pressure. You tape it or tie it off with the wings. One pack costs under $3. A pack of branded trauma dressings costs 10 times more. Now be clear on the limit. A pad soaks blood. It will not stop a pumping artery by itself. For that, you still need hard pressure and a tourniquet. But for the cuts, the burns, and the daily wounds of a crisis, nothing cheap beats it. Most men walk right past this aisle. You will fill a shoebox with them. You keep a stack in your car and your medical bag. You grab one the second you see blood. Next, the roll of duct tape on your workbench. The military has leaned on this since World War II. A factory worker named Vesta Stout invented it to seal ammunition boxes. Waterproof, fast to rip open under fire. Troops nicknamed it 100-mile-an-hour tape. It holds its speed, and it holds under stress. You already know it fixes things. You do not know how far it goes. You tape a sprained ankle for support. You cover a hot spot before it becomes a blister. You seal a cracked window against the cold. You splint a broken finger to the one beside it. You can even patch a leaking radiator hose to limp home. Torn tent, ripped tarp, busted boot sole. One roll handles all of it. Most people buy the cheap dollar store tape that peels in the heat. It fails you the moment you need it. You buy a real roll like Gorilla Tape for about $10 at Harbor Freight. The adhesive is thicker. It grips wet and cold surfaces that cheap tape slides off. One roll holds 100 small emergencies together. It weighs about a pound. It costs less than lunch. When the trucks stop, hardware shelves strip bare in a single day. You want your rolls stacked before that morning comes. You wrap a few yards around your bottle to save space. You always have tape when you carry it that way. Now something almost too obvious. The Bic lighter in your kitchen drawer. Fire is survival, yet people forget to stock it deep. One lighter gives you thousands of flames. A single Bic lights around 3,000 times. Sit with that number for a second. That is years of daily fires from one thumb-sized tool. Most preppers obsess over fancy fire steels. A ferro rod takes skill, dry tinder, and a steady hand. In rain, in wind, in raw panic, it fails the untrained. A lighter just works. You flick it, and you have flame. Buy a 5-pack for about $6 at Walmart. Now here's the part that matters most. In every documented collapse, small vices become money. Cigarettes, coffee, and fire. A working lighter is one of the most traded items in a crisis. It is tiny. Everyone needs it. Nobody around you can make one. You stack a bag of them and you hold real barter power. Store them out of the heat and keep them dry. A sealed butane lighter can sit for years and still spark. You are not just buying fire, you are buying a pocket-sized bank that everyone will want. Most people own 2 lighters. You want 50 of them. You trade one for food or a favor when you must. You hold the power when you hold the fire. This is the one. Write this down. The most powerful fire starter you own is already in your bathroom. Petroleum jelly and cotton balls. Together, they beat gear costing 20 times more. Here is the physics. A dry cotton ball catches a spark instantly, but burns out in seconds. It is useless in wind. Now you work petroleum jelly deep into that cotton. The jelly is a hydrocarbon fuel. The cotton fibers act like a wick and feed the flame slowly. You fluff the ball open and touch a spark to it. It burns steady for 4 to 7 full minutes. 7 minutes of hot flame from a single ball. That is more than enough to dry damp kindling and build a real fire. Rain does not stop it. Wind does not kill it. It even floats and keeps burning on water. Store-bought tinder tabs cost about $1 each. Yours cost about 3 cents each. A jar of jelly is $4 at Walmart. A bag of cotton balls is $2. You make 200 fire starters for $6 total. Pack them into an old pill bottle. They will not leak or dry out for years. This is the trick that separates people who make fire from people who freeze. Wet wood beats most preppers cold. It will not beat you. When your fingers are numb and the wind is howling, this one cheap item saves you. It stands between a warm night and a deadly cold. You keep a bottle of them in every pack you own. You will make fire when the untrained cannot. Next, the roll of aluminum foil in your kitchen. Heavy-duty foil is a survival tool most people never respect. Start with the obvious. You cook on it with no pots. You wrap food and bury it in the coals. You boil water in a folded foil pouch over a fire. Now the parts you did not know. Foil is a signal mirror. A bright square flashed at the sun can be seen for miles by a search plane. It reflects your own body heat back at you inside a shelter. Wrap it shiny side facing in. Here's the one that stops people. Foil blocks electronics from a pulse. Wrap a spare radio in several tight layers and you build a cheap shield. That is the same principle as a Faraday cage. If a surge or a pulse fries the grid, your wrapped radio still works. Most people spend hundreds on a metal shield can. You use a $6 roll from Costco instead. You also seal food against moisture with it. You can even sharpen a dull blade against the crinkled surface in a pinch. 1 roll, 10 jobs. It weighs ounces and costs almost nothing. When shelves empty, the practical items go first. You keep 3 rolls in the closet and cover cooking, signaling, and protection all at once. You fold a sheet into a cup when you need to drink. You shape it into whatever you need. Now the item that ends more prepper plans than any other, the manual can opener. People stack 100 cans of food and own 1 electric opener. The power dies. The cans stay sealed shut. You end up staring at a month of food you cannot reach. It sounds impossible until it happens to you. A trained hand keeps 2 or 3 cheap steel openers stashed around. 1 in the kitchen, 1 in the bug-out bag, 1 in the car. Redundancy is doctrine. 1 is none. 2 is 1. A good manual opener costs about $5 at Walmart. Some run $1.25 at Dollar Tree. Buy the sturdy kind with a comfortable grip. The flimsy ones snap under a full pantry of work. Yes, you can grind a can open on concrete by rubbing the seam. It works, but it is slow. It wastes food, and it cuts your hands. Why bleed for something a $5 tool does clean? This is the least exciting item on the whole list. It is also the one whose absence ruins every other plan you made. You will never be the person with a wall of food and no way in. You keep 3 openers. You sleep just fine. You test each opener before you ever trust it. You never assume the cheap one will hold. Here's a small one that punches far above its size. Dental floss. That little plastic box holds about 100 yards of high-strength cord. This is not weak thread. A single strand holds tens of pounds of pull. It is thin, waxed, and almost weightless in your pack. Soldiers and survivalists have used it for generations. You sew a ripped pack back together. You lash a knife blade to a pole and build a spear. You rig a snare line for small game. You string a fishing line and pull dinner from a pond. You hang your food in a tree away from animals. In a hard pinch, medics have even closed wounds with waxed floss and a needle. 1 little box does the work of a whole spool of cordage. Most people carry paracord and nothing finer. Paracord is too thick for stitching or for fishing. Floss fills the gap that thick rope simply cannot. A box costs about $2 at Dollar Tree. You can carry 10 boxes and never feel the weight. When you need to bind, mend, catch, or hang something, this is your answer. Everyone owns a box already. Almost nobody counts it as survival gear. You will from now on. You wind a few yards around a card to save room. You find a use for it nearly every week. Next, the stack of coffee filters in your cupboard. A pack of 100 costs about $2. Most people never think past coffee. A veteran sees a field filter. Dirty water is full of grit, silt, and floating debris. Pour that straight into your bottle, and it clogs everything and hides bacteria in the mud. You pour it through 2 coffee filters first. They strain out the sediment, the leaves, and the floaters. Now your bleach or your boil actually works on clear water. Filtering paper does not kill germs by itself. Clearing the water first makes the killing step far more effective. That is the order the pros use every time. Strain first, then treat. One filter does other jobs too. You use it as fire tinder because it lights fast and dry. You strain used cooking oil to reuse it. You wrap food in it. You can even brew wild leaves in it like a tea bag. 100 filters weigh almost nothing and cost pocket change. Compare that to a fragile pump filter that clogs in an hour on muddy water. The cheap paper does the rough work for free and saves your good filter. You keep a few packs tucked in your kit. You will pull dirty water clear almost anywhere. You line a funnel with one and pour it slow. You always clear the water before you treat it. Now a mineral that men once killed over: salt. That cheap round box in your pantry was once worth more than gold. Roman soldiers were partly paid in it. The word salary comes straight from it. There's a hard reason for that. Without salt, meat rots in days. With it, meat keeps for months with no power at all. That alone makes it priceless when your fridge dies. You pack meat or fish in salt and preserve your protein through a long crisis. Your own body needs it too. You sweat salt out every single day. Lose too much and you cramp, weaken, and go down. A hard-working body in summer can fail without it. You also use salt to clean a wound and gargle a sore throat. It draws water out and fights infection. A box of table salt costs about $1 at Walmart. A bag of canning salt is a few dollars more. It never spoils. It sits on a shelf forever and waits for you. In a long collapse, salt becomes trade gold all over again. People will hand over real value for a single cup of it. Most preppers stack sugar and forget salt. You stock both. You hold the mineral that built empires. You add a pinch to your water when you sweat hard. You keep your body running when the heat climbs. The last one may be the most stunning of all. Honey. The jar in your cupboard will outlive you and your grandchildren. Archaeologists opened Egyptian tombs sealed for over 3,000 years. Inside sat pots of honey still perfectly edible. 3,000 years, and it never spoiled once. Here is exactly why. Honey holds almost no water at all. Bacteria and mold cannot grow without water. It is also acidic, and bees add an enzyme that makes tiny amounts of peroxide. Germs simply die inside it. That same power heals you. Field medics have packed wounds with honey for centuries. It kills bacteria and pulls fluid out of an infection. It is a food and a medicine in one jar. It is dense fuel too. 1 tablespoon gives you about 60 fast calories of pure energy. You spoon it for a quick lift when you're drained and cold. You spread a thin coat over a burn or a raw wound. You soothe a savage cough with it. A 5-pound jug from Costco runs about $18 and lasts a lifetime. Store it sealed and it never dies on you. Most people see a simple sweetener. You see food, medicine, and forever storage in one jar. You keep a small jar in your medical kit as well. That is the whole point of this list. The strongest gear you own is already sitting in your home. None of this takes money or a bunker. It only takes knowing what you already own. That is exactly why I put everything I know into a printable guide for you, linked in the description before the signal ever drops. Stack these 13 items this week, and you are ahead of your whole street. So tell me, which of these is already sitting in your home right now?